welcome to Minneapolis. For those of you that are not from here, we're excited to have you and excited to talk about our journey of AI over the last year, and excited to have Emilie and Maija really kind of tell the broader story of what we're trying to do. But we entitled our topic today, Accelerating Creativity. How are we empowering our culture to basically adopt AI and really make what we do more amazing for our clients and really adopt that culture of speed. And I use this analogy, if you could imagine, you don't have to imagine a lot, it's right there on the screen, of this vice bolted to a bench in a workshop, and it's holding an egg. And that egg is that very special thing that we do in our business. It is the magic that we create, is the great strategy, the great idea. But ultimately, we also know that in this business, we have a lot of competing forces. We have the pressures of deadlines. Somehow we miss deadlines, or sometimes clients may change their mind, or we have all of these things that are putting pressure on that egg, and then we start to form cracks in it, or even worse, the magic that we want to hold is ultimately falling all over the workshop floor. And this is really where we've looked at AI, and this is really the chapter 1 of our book in AI, to basically say, how can we use AI to, instead of turning that crank and putting more pressure on the egg, we can turn that crank the other direction and relieve some pressure on that egg. How can we automate things like scopes and briefs and notes and timelines, all of these administrative things that are critically important, but ultimately not the value part of what we ultimately try to do as an agency. So when we answer the question, why AI, this is the answer that I give. Not everything we do deserves the time it takes. And that's the God's honest truth in this business. And for us, it was so important for us to just focus on, like, there's only so much value in a dollar. We would rather spend more of the value of that dollar on the magic part of our job versus the non-magic part with our job. So about a year ago, we partnered with OpenAI, and 10 months ago, we launched Butter. It is an OpenAI-powered platform. It is an enterprise system, closed box, obviously very important for the integrity of the information, but ultimately for the modeling that we have been doing for our clients and for our people. And I think it's always good to say we can say up here that it's going very well. I think it's good to hear from the people that are actually using it from all corners of the agency. Going to share a couple of those thoughts, and then these guys will show you what we've been doing.
When I'm in meetings, client or internal, I have my stream of consciousness notes. I dump that into Butter, and then it kicks back out really organized and detailed notes.
It saves me hours of work of going through each proposal, and it gets me to that final plan way quicker than I've ever been able to in the past.
It really takes the legwork out of analyzing a big data set, turning a 2+ hour task into something that takes me maybe 10 minutes.
It gives me a ginormous head start in terms of writing R scripts, Python scripts, and just general Excel code as well.
I use Butter every day, from scheduling to budgeting to flagging potential production concerns.
The thing about creative is you got to get through a lot of bad ideas sometimes before you can get to a good idea.
Going from what's in my head, from my little sketches, to something tangible, I think is really cool, and it's kind of unbelievable.
It's really good when I'm at the end of my rope and can't figure out what to dig into next, of saying, here's a bunch of suggestions for you.
Working in social media can be impossible to stay on top of all the ever-changing updates to the platforms and algorithms. So I use my friend Butter on a daily basis for them to tell me what I need to know that may impact our clients.
Butter can take the first step, get you halfway to the goalpost before you even begin.
It gives me a lot more time to be able to do deeper thinking, bigger thinking, just do things that are related to my craft rather than related to a to-do list.
Hello, Butter. Everything's better with Butter, right? So I'm going to talk about a few of those things at the agency that are better with Butter. Everyone in the agency has been using this tool, literally everyone. And if you were here earlier, you might have heard about, hey, you should all start making custom GPTs. So we are able to do that with our enterprise system. And one of the ways in the strategy group that we're able to use a custom GPT for a client or for a segment or for a target audience is to develop a dynamic persona. So what does that mean? You can actually first you give knowledge to the GPT and you say, hey, here's everything we know, everything the internet knows, proprietary research, interview transcripts, Mintel data, any kind of syndicated research. And we created, for example, a Gen Z bot. So Gen Z bot, now we can ask questions and it will answer them as that Gen Z human. So what does this person's day look like? What kinds of things are in their bag? What kinds of media usage are they putting out into the world? And it can kick back a really, really specific day in the life. We can ask it for struggles, challenges. We're thinking about media touch points. We're thinking about their worldview, not just their media usage. And not only that, but it can visualize this information. So for a creative kickoff, before we even get to client, we can bring this person to life in a way that doesn't just show logos on a screen, but actually shows what's in their purse, what does their kitchen look like, what's in their fridge. Looks like very simple visualizations from our friend Butter, but it really does make a difference when you're working with people with different kinds of brains who used different types of inputs themselves. A creative brief that's just a Word doc isn't going to inspire them in the same way that some visuals, some video, and those types of day-in-the-life things might with those dynamic personas. We also build them for our clients. We have a couple of bots that are built specifically for clients. With all the information that we have about them, we can ask them. I have a couple of different custom GPTs. If you'd like to read about HitchBot, you can do so. But I also have CMO bot, so I can ask a lot of questions about how would this pitch land with the CMO, with a business. So really interesting ways of checking my own work with a custom GPT that I've built to think the way that I do. It's also a really great new business accelerant. So thinking about those custom GPTs, I love talking about highlighters. Strategists in the room and folks who love to go at whatever it is you're trying to ingest with 6 different colors of highlighters. For us, Butter's a faster highlighter. I no longer need green for economics, red for kinship, purple for politics. I already have those thoughts in my head because I've done the interviews or I've done the research. Now the data is within this custom GPT that I can ask for those things and then start to check my work. It doesn't lead us just to the tyranny of themes. We're going to break out of that and really talk about tensions and talk about outliers and why they're important, and again, check our work. We're also going to write proposals. We're also going to get to pitch intelligence faster, creative briefs faster and better, proposals faster and better. It will do things in templates that we ask it. So if I've written 100 proposals before, I have a custom GPT that has those 100 proposals. You all know we write the same thing in terms of approach, or what are our steps to this type of project? It will just start to do that for me when I give it some parameters around the client. And not only that, but as you saw with the dynamic personas, think about spec work, think about pitch work, think about, again, trying to bring your creatives into the world that you are trying to brief them to create. This is some work that we did working, pitching and working with Sunkist, really thinking about how to bring out of home, bring experiential, bring conceptual thinking to life in a way that's hard to explain in words, and much easier to explain through the magic of Butter. And with that, I'm going to pass to Maija, and she's going to go through a few more case examples.
Thank you. Yes, so as Dean said, we are in chapter 1 of our AI journey, and where a lot of the work is being held right now is in the idea of reducing everyday barriers. These are the things that we tell people if you get a project or a client request and your first response is, ugh. That is a perfect use of AI, because AI is really good at the stuff. It really, really can knock it out, and it not only saves time, but it saves the annoyance of what some of these are. So when we rolled this out, we talked to everyone at the agency prior and got some ideas of how they might use it, and this was our guiding principle. We saw this about a year ago, and we've been using this quote, and this is our perspective of AI at the agency, is, quote, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so I can do my laundry and dishes. We really are trying to preserve that egg, the creativity, and get rid of all of the other things that are getting in the way of that. So one thing we've done is, as we've rolled this out, we did meet with everyone, and we looked for overlapping themes of how people might use this. And through that, we have developed custom GPTs for the agency. I'm going to tell you about the top 5 most used ones currently. To give you a perspective of how much we're doing this, we have 20 custom GPTs we've rolled out agency-wide. But as of yesterday, we have 144 other custom GPTs that people have either created individually or have created in small teams. So the adoption of this tool is far and wide at our agency because we are seeing the power of it. So real quickly, Scope Drafter, as Emilie said, we put in like our favorite 10 proposals that are similar to the type of work we're doing over and over again, design work, branding, websites, things like that. Then someone can go in there, answer a couple questions, and it's going to shoot out a scope that allows us to turn scopes in 24 hours. That is our agency-wide goal. It also includes timing and investment. Obviously, everything we do in AI needs to have a human touch before it goes out. So this gets us, 50% of the way, 80% of the way, 90% of the way sometimes. But these custom GPTs, as we continue to train them, they get better and better. Image resizer is like our project management's best friend now. They can skip desktop. They can get an image that needs to be resized for native or social or an email. They put the image into the image resizer, tell them what they need, and it shoots out a production-ready asset. Broadhead GPT is our solution to reducing some of the ask of our IT and HR department. So we've uploaded our employee handbook, all of our information about our ESOP vesting, our 401k. I told Dean I was going to just keep talking about all of our benefits. All of our benefits are loaded into this thing.
It's the IT one, so I turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, that's the first thing it returns. But this allows people to get real-time information about questions that they might have gone to a human for first. BenchBot is our performance benchmark custom GPT. This is democratizing data across the agency. We have loaded all of the performance data of our clients into this bot. And if you can imagine the scenario, it happens probably every day where an account manager is on the phone with the client. The client's like, well, how did this do last year? They can go to BenchBot, type that question in like they're talking to a human, and it turns back the result in a second. So we're relieving the pressure of going to the data science team and having to look up the old dashboard or going to Tableau and all the things by having this GPT available. And then I know the worst part of scheduling a meeting for me is finding the time that works for the 5 people I need in the meeting. So we created Outlook Virtual Assistant. You can put in the people that you need in a meeting. It looks at all of their calendars and it returns times that are available. So just an example of some of the most repetitive things that we're seeing at the agency, and that's where we're investing the time to build these GPTs across the agency. Okay, the next couple examples I'm going to talk are winners of what we launched is our little game show, Butter Tank. I'm sure you guys have watched Shark Tank in the past, but we created this out of the gates last year. We knew we needed to gamify AI to get people to want to use it. So every couple of weeks, we had people submit their use cases of Butter. And then we selected people to go head-to-head in a live pitch with the whole agency, and people voted in real time, and then people won some money, and they won a butter dish, because why wouldn't we give them a branded butter dish? They're proudly displayed on desks all across the agency. So these are some of the winners, just to show you the breadth of how we're using it. Okay, so this one is creating copy decks from Figma. I loved this quote. Creating copy decks for copywriters based on Figma designs is a time-consuming job that's essential, but mindless. I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, and I discovered Butter could do it. This is a perfect thing. It's what Dean said. It's something that's essential, but client, we don't want to, okay, client, I spent an hour creating a copy deck from a PDF from Figma. This is the things that we have to do, but they are annoying jobs. So this project manager uploaded the PDF into Butter, asked for a copy deck, and she also asked it to do a couple more things for her. So it not only completed the task in seconds, but it added some other things that she needed to keep the project moving along. All right, next one, privacy policy reviews and updates. I don't know about you, but this is why I got into this industry, is to do this type of shit. Okay, so look at this. This is one of our clients' privacy policy, okay? Nope, keeps going. How many more clicks will I go?
So many clicks.
So many clicks. But we need to know what's going on in this stuff, right? So one of our digital strategists noticed that or had heard from the client that they were doing more business in Europe. So she just took a look and saw there was nothing in here about GDPR. So she said to the client, hey, I don't see anything in here about that. You should talk to your lawyers and make sure you're not acknowledging GDPR. The client responded with, could you give us a suggested draft changes to privacy policy that we could run by our lawyer? It's like, oh my God, no, we can't. But like this is something we could not have done before. And she was like, yeah, I think I can. So this was her prompt. She asked Butter to review GDPR and then uploaded the privacy policy and said, look at this, and then give me a marked up copy deck. And she thinks about 4 to 5 hours of her time was saved. I would think is probably more. But it also saved the frustration of a horrible job like that none of us want to be doing. But more than that, it provided a new service that we're providing to our clients, right? Like, so we now just saved our clients time that they would have paid to the lawyer. It helps us, be kind of more in that consulting space versus just the doers. Another thing I know that I got into this industry for was to look at Excel documents with lots of placement data of how things performed. So this is an example. One of our media directors, he had all this data, and he needed to look through and determine what the so what. So he put it into Butter. Can you give me insights and recommendations? Okay, Butter over-delivered and gave a ton of stuff. And he was like, okay, actually I need a little more specifics. Can you make me a PowerPoint slide with some charts? So it came back with some charts. Then he's like, actually now take the charts and add the insights for me. And he ended up with a deck coming out of Butter with performance insights and the charts and graphs that he can now go through, add his own take on it, add the so what, a little more of the so what, but again, it gets us like 80 to 90% of the way there. And also to verify the data, like that is, the hallucinations are real, but the more we are training the tool, the better it's getting. And lastly, our data science and analytics team does a lot of marketing mix modeling, and they're using a lot of open source code to kind of fuel those activities. And so we will take that open source code, augment it for the client or the challenge, and sometimes the code returns an error or it breaks what we're trying to do. So now we are able to take what the code is that we've augmented it, put it into Butter, ask Butter, can you identify where there might be some breaks in the code? And instead of having a non-programmer or non-developer now having to go line by line to figure out, did they miss a parentheses or a dash or an underscore, Butter is giving them the power to do it themselves. So increasing the bandwidth and the talent that our talent has on hand.
All right, from my chair, where's the rubber meet the road? From the business side of the business, there's a few key things that I think have been so essential with the launch of AI and the agency. Number one, it's just extended the capacity of our best talent. I mean, by far and away, that's the most important function it can do. And I now have the capacity to spread Hitch over many, many different clients, and Maija over many, many different clients, because they have the utilization of Butter to help them do that. To what Emilie was talking about, it's making us more competitive in Business Sprint. We know how clients are buying differently today. We would love it to be, just give us our AOR with our huge retainer that we never have to worry about again. It's not the case. It's not the way business is coming in many ways. We have to go out and, we can more quickly be amazing and put work together in new business. And from my chair, this one's really, really good. It's helping us shore up margins. We know margins are a real challenge in this business. We're expecting to see about a 15% rise in revenue per employee this year. Some of that, by the way, is just capturing what we were giving away before. So it is allowing us to be more successful in the financial part of our business. But I think what's most important, it has created believers in the potential of AI, not only in the agency, but in our industry. The two words that I would say when we launched Butter to the agency last year, these would be the words that I would say they would describe them: scared and skeptical. I say today it's empowered and grateful. We've been so impressed by what the staff has done. And of course, it's not everyone doing it the same way. I mean, you have Emilie's group in data science are the super users of the agency, where you're probably seeing 50% savings on a lot of things. Creative a little bit further behind, account kind of in between in those areas. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you want to accelerate creativity, you just got to get to the magic quicker. That's been our experience, and we're thankful that we've had the opportunity to rock and roll in AI in the last year.
All right, looks like we have time for a couple questions here. So one of the ones that came through is what processes or frameworks does Butter use to ensure that data stays current with the latest trends? How does it also make sure the information is validated?
Good question. So we have the ability as an enterprise customer to not only secure our clients' data, so it doesn't train the bigger model, but we are taking advantage of the bigger model training. So it's not just what we put in, that what we get out. We are tapping into all of OpenAI. The second part of your question, it continues to get better to tell us its sourcing, but we have gotten, we spend a lot of time on prompt engineering that was talked about earlier, shit in, shit out. And so we are teaching our agency more and more ways to do that, but we do really encourage people to ask for sourcing and to check the links and to push it to make sure that what it's returning to us is correct.
And can you talk about the environmental impact of marketing and advertising professionals using AI in our work more often, knowing it can be energy expensive?
Sustainability question.
I can start that one. So this was something that we talked about with OpenAI when we selected them as a partner, because we knew actually at MPF last year there was a speaker that came up on stage and poured this glass of water. I don't know if any of you were there. He just poured it over and it was like, oh God, this is horrible for the environment. But so is the screen in your computer and the phone, and like everything uses energy in different ways. OpenAI has a full committee that's committed to this. We went with the market leader, but that also means that we are going to take some of the heat that we are with the market leader, because they are the ones that are in the crisis mode more often because they're getting asked about it. So it's a real thing. It's come up very little at the agency, but with everything with Butter, we've been super transparent of what it's good at and what it's bad at, and the bias that's in AI in general sucks. It's horrible, but it's something that it's not perfect, and as is the sustainability issues.
I would just add we have a sustainability task force at the agency, and we're working through a materiality assessment and another platform to create sort of a scorecard for ourselves. So we'll be able to track some of these things over time as AI starts to solve the climate change problems. Hopefully, the OpenAI will take advantage of those innovations, as will others, and we're just going to be right along with them. So happy to be on the journey. They know that it's a problem. We know that it's a problem. What else can you do?
And have you faced any hesitation from clients with their data being incorporated into these systems? And I'm sure you've had to have conversations about how it's used, where it's used, that it's within your walls.
We actually have not. I mean, we have pretty strict governance, and that's obviously a conversation that's happening with clients. And I think where we actually have had a client that has a no AI policy, we have a conversation to see this is how we're using it. And we're certainly willing to go no AI if that's what you want us to do. However, most of what we're doing is really, to some of the conversation that happened this morning, is the administrative side of what we do. So it's not even really something that we need approval from a client to, hey, we're going to use AI to do notes or to build a brief. But I mean, I think as we go further down that road of creative and some of the other automation tasks, we'll probably be focusing on that a little bit more.
We've also had some pitches where we're winning the pitch because we're using AI, and they want to be on that journey with us, learning with us. Hey, we don't have this in-house. We're stoked that you do. Let's work on how this is going to make our business better together.
Excellent. Thank you all so much.